Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the season premiere of the Book of Boba Fett, Stranger in a Strange Land. And I don't think this is bad, but I don't know why they're doing it. Like, granted, I would like more in-depth exploration of Boba Fett's character. That is a given. However, this is like the premiere. This is kind of like the pilot. This is to like show us how to get invested in this. And it's only 38 minutes, and it really doesn't do that much for me. Like, there is a lot of stuff that we're getting with flashbacks, and arguably, I'd say that most of the stuff is with flashbacks that we get, and a little bit in the present timeline that we're exploring, like 5 years after Return of the Jedi, after what happened with the Mandalorian season 2. Uh, it it's just really weird. There's not much of a story at this point. Like, other than, okay, Boba Fett's taking over Jabba's stuff and he's trying to like get tribute and do all this kind of stuff. We hear him talking about trying to rule with respect versus fear, but we don't really get much. It's a very threadbare plot at the moment, and that really needed to be focused on more. Um, so let's kind of juggle these bits. Well, not really even juggle. Most of the time, we see that Boba Fett is in this kind of back to healing tank thing to pretty much heal him for some kind of unspecified malady that we have. Be it his degradation for being a clone, some other kind of malady, anything like that. But he's also having dreams and flashbacks. So we see him in the Sarlacc pit. We see how he gets out, and it's really over pretty quickly. Like, he sees himself in the pit, and he's like, ah, shit, I'm inside the Sarlacc. We see a stormtrooper in there. He gets some air. He then punches his way through, uses a flamethrower to, like, fuck with some shit, and then pretty much crawls his way out from the sand. I'm like, that's pretty easy. Like, I don't need it to be this, like, epic. I don't need them to commit, like, a whole entire episode on that kind of stuff. But it was just like, huh. Everybody said that would have been pretty hard or whatnot. Like, you need to balance out, like, that motherfucker got eaten by the Sarlacc. If he ever comes out, that's a pretty big thing. Now, granted, Boba Fett had a lot of fucking weapons because he's one of the baddest bounty hunters around. So, yeah. It was just like, alright. And then he's, like, laying down when Jawas come and they, like, take his shit because in The Mandalorian, the one dude's got Boba Fett's old armor. Then he's just lying there. He's like, fucking hell. He looks like shit. It's like, goddamn. And then some Tusken Raiders come and be like, hey, we're going to capture you. Then we get then some stuff in the present happens, and then we get back to this flashback where he's like tied to the to this thing. We got a Rodian nearby as well, and he like gets this dog to come over. This was actually really smart. This showed how smart Boba Fett is. He's like, "Come here, dog, come here," and then pretty much knocks it out and uses his teeth to like cut his binds. And he's like, "Hey, dude, you want me to get you out too?" And he's like, "Ah, blah blah." I'm like, "All right, you kind of need to. Why that's going on?" He starts running. The Tusken Raider. Well, these kids were like beating the shit out of him before, and he's able to kind of like get out. One of the kids tries to like fuck with him, but he's like, "Fuck off, man!" And then one of the other kind of badass Tusken Raiders comes, kicks his ass. They have him tied up again, and I gotta fucking with him. He is now chained to the Rodian. And then the kid takes him out, and they like go a little ways. They got the dog with them, and they're trying to go to this farm, but it gets hit by bandits or whatnot. And they drive off with the moisture, and so he has them digging for like little ball things that we'd seen like the leader of the Tusken Raiders drinking from. And the Rodian finds a couple of them given, and Boba Fett finds one, drinks. It's like, yeah, I need some water. And then the kid's like, fuck you, man. And then like drizzles it for the dog or whatnot. And then they just keep digging. It's like, all right. I don't mind no dialogue kind of scenes and explorations of characters this way. It's just you have to be very careful in how you do it, because otherwise it comes off as kind of boring until you're like, all right, they're digging in shit, and then the Rodian finds like this creature thing, and it's got like kind of reminds me of the Kraken from like Clash of the Titans, like the '80s one. It's like, oh, it's like, ah, shit. He's like, beats the shit out of the dog, fucking kills the Rodian dude, tries to kill Boba Fett, but Boba Fett's like, fuck your shit, and then fucking, like, strangles it. It's like, yeah, okay. The kid's, like, running, like, I killed this thing, and, of course, the leader's like, yeah, you didn't fucking kill that thing, and offers water to Boba Fett. So that's where all that stuff kind of ends with the flashbacks. In the present, we see that Boba gets taken out of the Bacta tank. In the beginning stuff that we see, gets outfitted in his armor, and then of course he's receiving people for tributes. They're offering like money, all this kind of stuff. Actually, Fennec Shand is helping him out too, to be like, Jabba ruled by fear. That's kind of easier to do with this kind of shit. It's like, alright, you're not showing why fear is easier. They're saying these kind of things, but you also need to kind of show them as well. Let's see. He actually worked for this Trandoshan dude. He's like, yes, Boba, Then we see that, like, the mayor of Mos Espa, is supposed to come, but it's actually his attaché. And he's like, oh, to the daimyo. Yeah, we're wondering if you're going to give tribute to the mayor. It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, oh, okay. Well, he'll send another delegation or whatnot. It's like, okay, I understand what they were trying to do with this scene, but it just doesn't work very well. It's like, okay, I understand you're trying to introduce these whole kind of power dynamics of what it means to essentially be a daimyo and kind of a crime lord in this kind of place, and what Boba Fett's trying to do by moving towards from fear to more respect based, and actually trying to like do something I believe positively. But it just didn't work for me. It's like, okay, alright. I think it might just be like the content and how that delivery kind of works with the execution of like, it just didn't really work for me. It's like, okay, I hope we get some more of that. That might be what we see later on, because we see him go into Mos Espa, pretty much to this cantina kind of place to get tribute. He's like, yeah, sure, because we get this whole spiel of them having their helmets cleaned and serviced, and he's like, oh yeah, I just wanted to come down, see how your shit's going, say like yeah, I'm the new dude in town, I don't really want to fuck with your shit, but let's kind of do this pretty well. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then they give the helmet back, and he's got money, and it's like, alright, cool. And then they get set by assassins with, like, shield things, and Fennec gets kind of screwed over. Like, she kind of gets screwed over with, like, the stun baton things going on. And the thing is, during the whole tribute thing, he also has, like, 2 Gamorrean guards who worked under Jabba and then Fortuna, and they actually, like, had to wrestle him to, like, stop. It's like, they have a lot of loyalty, and Boba Fett likes that loyalty. He's like, will you be as loyal to me as you were to your previous masters? And they comply, and they follow him around. And the thing is, they kind of went with him to the cantina, but they kind of, like, shifted off, and then they come back here to, like, prove their kind of loyalty. I'm glad that we kind of see it, but it's just kind of like they disappeared until the plot demands, like, hey, Boba Fett needs some kind of help. And overall, the scene, action-wise, isn't too bad. They don't go crazy shifting and cutting and jumping to all different kinds of places. It's just like, okay, I kind of need more context of what's going on here. Because the thing is, this Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, there's, like, any number of people that could be, like, doing this for it. So I'm like, okay, I need this, like, narrowed down a little bit. You know what I mean? Even if there's just one dude that pops up from the assassins, like, somebody sends their regards. You know what I mean? Like, I need a little bit more something like, alright, is this tied to the mayor or whatnot, potentially? And if you're like assassins, stunning them with this shield kind of thing, now granted, it makes for a good action scene, you kind of have to, like, justify that. Like, are they trying to capture him or whatnot? It's really kind of weird. But Boba Fett kind of gets screwed over, and he has to get taken to it back to, he's like, listen, Fennec, get me alive, even though he had just blasted one apart with a rocket, I think. Mainly because someone was crawling on something, Boba Fett blasted something at him, and then they weren't there anymore. So I'm going to say they got pretty much atomized, but Then we get the cool scene of Fennec like running around and getting two of the assassins and like knocking over and potentially either killing or really harming one, and then has the other one to pretty much get information from, and then he's put in the back to tank, and that's it. It's really a whole lot of nothing. Like there's little bits like, oh, okay, that's how he got out of the Starlight Pit. He got captured by some Tusken Raiders. He is trying to figure out what it means to be a daimyo and what he wants to be as a daimyo, and figuring out how he fits within the power politics on Tatooine. But I just needed it to be a little bit more honed, because at this point I'm like, okay, we just saw a lot of different kind of things that are connected with Boba Fett, but they're not really as interweaved as I would have liked them to be into a kind of coherent narrative. Now, granted, it could move a little bit better later on, but we'll kind of have to see how that goes. So, if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely check it out. It's kind of cool to see Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit. But if you're just kind of like a random person, its action scenes are serviceable. So if you're into action, you could do worse. Character-wise, we don't really go in depth. So if you're looking for character development, it might be better episodes ahead to look into that. So this one, you'd be like, I don't know why I'm watching, you know? And if you're really into plot and interconnectedness, this one definitely would probably throw you off. So it's kind of a strange beast with this. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.